A man arrives on a farm in his truck. Then he eats with his sister and grandmother. Shortly after, they go their separate ways. The girl, Margaret, rides her bike, and as she rides it across a bridge, we see that it's Babylon, Florida in 1989. After that, a lady arrives at the property and starts talking to the grandmother. Meanwhile, Margaret rides home in the rain. When she gets to the bridge, a figure in black knocks her off the bike. He follows that by tossing it over the bridge. Margaret struggles with him, and when he sees a car approaching, he throws her into the water where the bike is. Then he follows her down. While he's there, he ties her to her bike. Later, the lady that talked to the grandmother, Belinda, arrives someplace else. She takes a man who is in a wheelchair into a building. Then a boy enters, who is the man's son, and Belinda allows him to wheel his father. Then we see the grandmother sleep. She awakens and sees someone in black walking near her house. The man then approaches the house and the elderly lady gets scared, but it is revealed to be her grandson, Jerry. She asks him about Margaret and how she will be coming home. Meanwhile, we see the girl underwater and how a snake enters her mouth. In the morning, the grandmother wakes up and calls Margaret's name. After not hearing her answer, she instantly starts making a phone call. Then Jerry comes to her and states that he already made the call to the police. After that, the grandmother sits at the police station to tell them about her missing granddaughter. Then she and Jerry go to the bank. A man there tells her that they're behind on their payments by 8 months. In the next scene, the sheriff, Ted, comes to a man and asks him about Margaret. The man tells Ted that he offered her a ride, and then the sheriff asks him why she was with him, to which he answers that she liked helping him. After that, he drives away. We then observe a figure coming out of the water and hovering above it. Later, a man fishes near the bridge. He starts pulling out Margaret's bike and yells for Jerry. When Jerry comes, he jumps in the water and starts helping to take the bike out with Margaret tied to it. He cries as he does it and his grandmother stands on the bridge to see it. She screams in agony, and then we see the cops take Margaret away. Ted then sits in a room and states to a forensic specialist that he's never seen anything like this. Afterward, the specialist tells him that she was 4 months pregnant. Then they all gather at Margaret's funeral. Ted talks to Jerry privately and Jerry tells him that his grandmother wants him to arrest Nathan Redfield. Ted is surprised by this decision and then says that Margaret was also 4 months pregnant. Then we see Belinda being romantic with someone. When they are finished, something drips on Belinda. She looks up and sees that someone is on the tree. She then tells it to the man she's with. He is Nathan. After that, they run out to their vehicles. Belinda tries getting in her car but notices that it's wet. She asks Nathan what it is, and when he checks, he says he doesn't know. When Belinda drives away, Nathan sits and drinks a little. We then see in the distance that some water figure splashes into the ground. What follows is a person appearing at his passenger side right before he drives off. The next scene has Ted talking to the grandmother, Evelyn. She insists that Nathan ended the life of Margaret. Furthermore, she tells him that since Nathan is his friend and has a lot of money, that is why Ted won't do anything to him. When Ted walks away, we then see Nathan walking into the building he works at. He sees a girl standing on blood without even noticing it. This causes him to touch her shoulder, and as he does, a blackened female appears with a snake coming from her mouth to terrify him. But then a man touches Nathan from behind and all returns to normality. Even the puddle of blood has disappeared. Nathan and that man then talk in Nathan's office. The other man is Charles. He states that Evelyn wants him to prosecute Nathan for the murder of Margaret. After that, Evelyn puts flowers on Margaret's grave. She then says they will put Nathan there in her place. At night, Nathan drives his truck on the street. He sees the ghost of Margaret as she pantomimes riding a bike in the air. Shortly after, she stops and looks at him. Then they both ride at each other and the ghost splashes out of existence when they contact. We then see Jerry and Evelyn sitting in a restaurant with a man that offers them his help. When Nathan comes home, he starts drinking. He is visibly bothered by the events that are happening to him. Evelyn and Jerry then ride home. When they arrive at the bridge, a masked man pleads for help. Jerry gets out of the car, which causes the man to hide. As Jerry stands there, a man comes out and takes his life away. And then he does the same thing to Evelyn. The boy then emerges and asks Nathan what he's doing. But Nathan orders him to help get the deceased into the vehicle. When they get them in, they ride to the water. Then they start pushing the car towards it. After it lands there, Nathan states that no one will find them there, just like no one will know about Margaret. The boy then asks him why he took her life, but Nathan does not answer. In the following scene, Ted goes to Evelyn's house. He inspects from the outside and then finds the man from earlier there, Warren. Ted asks him what he's doing there and Warren answers that he set Evelyn and Jerry up with a lawyer. He wanted to check on them about that. After that, Ted comes to Nathan's father, James. They watch how Belinda swims in the pool. Then Nathan appears and takes the sheriff inside. In there, he tells Ted that he sometimes sees Warren coming by on their property, but he adds that he doesn't want to prosecute someone for trespassing. Later on, he tells Ted that someone broke into their house and stole their sword. However, he says he doesn't care if he ever gets it back. Before he leaves, Ted says there's no need to trouble Warren. After a while, police pull the car out of the water. When they are at Evelyn's house, Ted tells Warren where they found them. And then they discover the sword that Nathan used on Evelyn and Jerry in the trunk of the car. Afterward, Nathan sees the police arrive near him and how they bring Warren into the police station. Later, a funeral for Evelyn and Jerry takes place. Sometime at night, Nathan drives and remembers how he offered Margaret a ride. He takes her and they drink alcohol together. After that, he sets her back out. Then the time came when she called him on the phone and informed him that she was pregnant with his baby. He tells her it is not his, but she states that there's no one else she has been with. To that information, Nathan tells her to give him a few days to tell his father about it, and he tells her not to tell anyone else until then. Then Nathan drives into a cemetery. His truck stops working properly and then even his key breaks. When he gets out to look at his truck, he sees the ghost of Margaret standing at a distance. When she approaches, he tries to fight her. Then he chases her, but she quickly runs away. He stops near a grave and looks at it. Soon after, its coffin emerges from the earth and hovers above. Then it explodes and scares Nathan into running away. As he runs, he nearly runs into a huge snake with a human head. This terrorizes him even more and he runs back to his truck, where he takes out another key and drives out of the cemetery. Eventually, he comes back home, damaging the garage door in the process of his entrance. His brother meets him there outside, and Nathan tells him that Warren is in jail, so there is no reason for the police to come looking for them. In the next scene, Ted comes to Warren in his cell. He delivers some food to him. When he sits near Warren, another officer comes in and wants Ted to look at something. We then observe the police at the cemetery. They see the missing coffin and question who would take the corpses. Then Nathan sits in a restaurant with his brother, Charles, and his wife. As he is about to consume his dessert, blood drips onto it from above. This startles the man and Charles asks him if he's okay. Following that, the ghost of Margaret appears behind Nathan and tosses a part of herself onto the table to bring further horror to the man that took her life away. This causes Nathan to stand up and start walking away. He knocks down a lady in the process because he perceives her as another ghost. His brother is then forced to apologize for his actions and states that it could be his medication. When they get home, Nathan jumps into a hot tub. As his brother looks outside, Nathan becomes paranoid and comes to him, asking what he's looking at. But there is nothing there. He then asks him if he wants them to go away to Duval for the rest of the summer. Then we see Ted arriving home. He gets a phone call from someone, who he tells that he is investigating a murder. Then Ted asks the individual when was the last time they spoke to Evelyn, and the person tells him that they talked to her representative. When Ted asks who that is, he is told it's Nathan. Then in the car, Charles and his wife arrive home. They talk about Nathan and both come to believe that he eliminated the family. After that, Nathan comes to his father to discuss something. He informs him that he will go to Duval for the rest of the summer, but his father tells him that he cannot do that because he's the president of the bank. He adds that the bank will go to ruin, but Nathan denies that it will and says he is just tired. His father then says he will appoint somebody else as president, and then Nathan will not see a penny of his money again. Nathan then leaves and enters another room where he starts typing a letter. In it, he states that he's been sick for the last 2 years, and there is no hope for him to get better. He further says that if it were not for Nina and Belinda nursing him, he would have ended his life long ago. He goes on to say he has provided them with money after he leaves. Nathan writes that letter as his father, and it is being written to himself. He then signs it with his father's signature. Meanwhile, Charles and Ted get ready to bust Nathan, and then Nina comes to James to get him out of the house. After she gets him out, she puts him in a car. Following that, Nathan comes to Belinda. When he hugs her, he perceives her as a corpse in the mirror and so pushes her down. Shortly after, he recovers his sight and apologizes to her. Then they go to the pool. As he stands there looking at it, Nathan sees a girl swimming there. Then Belinda comes to him and pushes him into the water. She follows him in there and they both start kissing. While they kiss, Belinda gets perceived as a corpse. This causes Nathan to swim away from her. But when he exits the pool, he sees that yet again it is just Belinda that comes out. He helps take her out and his vision gets distorted for the dozenth time. At this point, he takes a nearby brick and connects it with the girl, causing her to lose consciousness. Then his brother comes out as a zombie. Nathan runs at him and knocks him down. Shortly after, he takes his life. After that massacre, he runs to his truck in the garage. Charles and Ted then arrive at his house. Ted goes around the back, while Charles gets ready to go for the front door. But before he gets there, a car rides through the garage door and runs into Charles. Ted runs to his location and fires at Nathan's vehicle. After missing the man, Ted goes to the pool area and sees his daughter, Belinda, lying there. He tends to her as best as he can. When Nathan arrives at the bridge, more ghosts appear there, so he backs up and drives elsewhere. But then he returns to the bridge and his car stops there. A female zombie sits in the passenger seat. She takes him by the arm and then he drives his car over the bridge and falls with it into the water. While he's in there, the ghosts attack him, and the car keeps sinking lower and lower. When it descends completely, we see Nathan breaking free and swimming toward the surface. In the morning, the police take the car out. Ted asks the other officer if he discharged Warren and the officer tells him that he did. When they look inside the car, they see that Nathan lies there lifeless and is missing an ear. Then in the trunk of that very car, the bodies of all 3 family members